Welcome, my friends. Thank you for joining me. Let's go ahead and start with some comfortable standing posture as usual. Please do let your whole body soften, falling open, allowing your awareness to settle into the present moment, staying quiet and effortless. Relax. Let go of whatever was propelling you earlier in the day. Let go of that sense of momentum toward the rest of your day. And instead we settle, we fall into this only moment we actually have. We have a Melanie in the background. For those of you joining us for the first time, as usual, welcome. And please do check down below for the links to the beginning of this 100-day series and the introduction. It's also worth clicking on the earlier snake and turtle instruction videos. I've got a whole lot of them, dozens and dozens, that will help guide you into this practice. How to think about the Qigong, how to shape your intention, how to recognize when you're doing something wrong, and the direction to take your practice in order to succeed. So I highly recommend checking those out first, and then coming back here for these deeper levels of practice. Your whole body, soft, open, expansive. In the beginning, it often just feels as though we are trying to let go, trying to sink through our body. We let go of our shoulders, our elbows drop. We let our chest fall. Our shoulder blades sink. We stop holding them up. Our hips settle. We let the weight of our upper body drop through to the ground, to the lower body. And so in the sense that in the beginning, our emphasis is upon allowing things to fall through to the ground, this is true. And part of the reason that we are letting go of the extra is to make space for things to be able to open, to stop contracting, closing, constricting. And as we open and we expand, a new experience of standing starts to happen, where we feel as though the whole body opens. This spaciousness that is left behind when we stop holding on feels as though it begins to fill. Master Jerchung likes to say that nature loves a vacuum. Whenever we make space, Qi rushes in to fill that space. And part of the experience of releasing our body isn't just stability and calm. It's not just that deep sense of peace as the mind begins to settle, but also this sense of expansive vibrancy that starts to flood into our being. It's possible to stand on that expansive fullness. So it's holding you up and everything feels effortless and free. And one of the party tricks that I often like to show off with is that have somebody come and push on me as hard as they want, and I just stand and soften. And I don't feel as though I'm pushing back. I'm just releasing through And what they're experiencing is this buoyant fullness. And what we're trying to develop is this capacity to make room for something better, something different. But first we have to stop clenching all the time. We unclench our mind, and there's this clarity, this deep stillness, this possibility for new ideas, for inspiration to flow into the space that we're making that was previously full. When we stop grasping with our emotions, running away from things, running toward things, obsessing and circling, what's left is a heart that is calm, this deep sense of peace that pervades us. That's always beneath that. And the same is true with our body. When we stop compressing, contracting, and forcing everything, what's left is this stable, vibrant quality that begins to pervade. And this is the place to begin our Qigong practice. It's not just a series of movements based on the old way of being, but rather a new way of inhabiting our body and our mind. So we start here. And we only do 5 minutes or so during this practice, because there's only so much time. But I highly recommend every day you stand for 10, 15 minutes, once or twice a day, letting go, falling open, finding this new space and spaciousness. But for now, unless you'd like to pause the lesson, closing. Awareness settling into the middle. This cultivation of the dantian, that space between the navel and the spine, is its own entire separate discussion. But we begin by softening, by becoming still, cultivating that stillness until it grows into something different. Gentle circles. Today, emphasizing the softness of the hands, the softness in your wrists, your forearms, around your elbows. Both directions. For those of you who have already cultivated some development in your dantian, this middle dantian space here, please allow that qi to pervade, to perfuse, to fill that space in your abdomen, expanding out and then returning. And so for today, after we've done so much work understanding the lines of connection through the body, how the neck releases, how the shoulder releases appropriately, and we've been examining this side, this line and that line, and now what we're going to do is take that and release outward. And so if we were going sequentially, the next thing I would talk about is the elbow, and I would love to accept that the middle relies upon the ends. In this case, for the arms, this is the base, this is the middle, and this is the leading tip. And so in order to disinhibit the elbow, first we need to talk about disinhibiting the wrists, the hands. And that requires a little bit more doing. So before we begin, this is my hand. Soften your hand. If you haven't yet seen my video about the nature of relaxation, how to let go, please do watch that. And I talk about that we're not just opening our hand after having a fist, but first we release the fist so that we can have a hand open naturally, expanding, releasing naturally. So the hand opens, not because I hold it open by tightening the back, but rather because I let go and I release through to the tips, fingertips. So also through the wrist. Very often you'll see people doing this kind of movement or this, folding, kinking, obstructing. We would say breaking the angle of the wrist in different ways. And these are incorrect for practice as well because the movement is no longer going through. And so instead what you want to do is have a soft hand, gentle, delicate expression of the hand. Put my hand here so you can see it more easily. And the hand seems to sprout from the wrist. That's the way we talk about it. And so if I soften from the bottom, my hand, my wrist is able to bend, but it's a release through here, not because I'm tightening back here. Same here, that if I soften this way, there's a natural expression through my hand, not because I'm pulling down and breaking this. If I do any of these kinds of things with my hand or my wrist, then it becomes impossible to express through here. Because again, like with a garden hose, where can you kink the hose and have the water come out the end? These are the ends. If we obstruct it, then everything else bunches up and gets stuck. We can't express anymore. And so I won't even be able to talk in the next lesson about the elbows because we're busy kinking the ends. So, as we soften the wrist, let it expand outward. And there are positions, see if I can find a way to show this on camera, that we will close our hand. We lengthen our hand. And there's two ways to do it. So I'll come here and kind of close this spot here. See if we can see this. I'm going to make a fist, and I'm going to close my fist inward. I'm not going to move the rest of this. I'm just going to tighten and shrink. Can you see how my hand is shrinking inward? This is pulling in. It's getting smaller in relationship to this line and the line of the window that you can see. And now what I'm going to do is close my hand, and I'm going to lengthen around the circle instead of closing inward. Watch it lengthen. Right? It goes out, closing in, squeezing in, and then lengthening around. Right? I'm not doing this. One lengthens, one closes in, squeezes in. We don't want to squeeze. We want to lengthen around. So anytime we make a circle with our hand, we're not closing in, we're not folding our wrist, we're lengthening around the circle. This way, through softening long. It's a little difficult to see and to feel here, easier to feel in the shoulder that's releasing, but it's the same quality of movement. And so, with that in mind, took a little while to talk about it. Let's do left and right yin and yang, which again is preeminent for its ability to help us soften long and through. Softening long, softening long. Release your hand, release your wrists. Don't hold them open. Let go of everything that's contracting them. Your forearm softens, your hands lengthening from the wrists. Remember that there are no muscles, the way we're thinking about muscles, in the fingers. It's all about the movement through the hand. So release the hands to release the fingers. But do have your awareness moving outward through the fingertips, your intent to express outward. Gentle intent. Don't push. Letting go. Letting go. And now, softening the sides of the neck as usual. emphasizing this opposite side releasing from the wrist and the forearm down. Slowly, we apply all of these lessons that we've been developing closer to the spine, outward in the extremities, and it can be more difficult to find them sometimes. Especially if we tend to work with our hands and we have lots of habituated tension. As a carpenter, I know that feeling. So now let's warm up the back. Don't kink the wrists and squeeze inward. Keep your hands soft. And now let's begin to soften the sides of the neck, tops of the shoulders, and emphasize again this releasing of the wrists and the hands. It's a very subtle thing. It won't look like anything on camera, but you want to be able to feel it in your body. Whichever direction you have your hands resting against your back. Again, remember that if you have wrist or shoulder pain, it's perfectly fine to use the backs of your hands. It creates a slightly different impact, but it's better than causing pain. Tapering off. Softening around the waist and closing. Wrists release. Don't break your wrists. Extend through the elbow, through the wrists, all the way around the circle, and then softening. Hands relaxed. Notice if you have the habit of holding open your hands or tightening in your forearms. Begin to let that go. Or that tension will simply creep up and obstruct all of the release in your neck and shoulders, which of course is the point of this series. It is the expression at the tip that helps to influence the release from the base. And so for the arms, this is the base, this is the middle, these are the tips. On the legs, base, middle, tip. And along the spine, base, middle, the tip. And so the way we express with the neck emphasizes how free we are with the lower body here, which we'll talk about at one point. But for now, if our movements are restricted at the tips, then it restricts the capacity for your shoulders to release. So sometimes people are perfectly free in their shoulders in some capacity, but because the movements are restricted here, this can never express and circulate. So soften here. So here is the base. Feel it transferring up through the middle along your spine, softening up at the neck. If you let your head fall forward, then this stops being able to move. But by releasing the tip, by releasing at the end, which in this case is the neck, top of the spine, it helps to set the base free, so it is able to express. Hands and wrists resting gently in that space just behind this greater trochanter bone here, where this tight band of tissue likes to connect. making certain that that stays soft as you circle and orbit around both directions. Feeling how the ends, whether it's the neck or your hands, affect your ability to express at the base. And then you can also feel the base being the feet, this being the middle, and this being the end. So as you're circling here, if your foundation feels unsteady, if you're feeling imbalanced because our feet are close together, then you'll notice that it restricts your ability to release your neck and your upper spine, in which case you want to widen your foundation a little bit until you feel steady again. Every day will be a little different. Both directions. Tapering off. And then let's go ahead and gaze down between the feet, softening the back of the neck. Take your time, looking up and down, softening the throat, from the base of the neck, the middle of the neck, to the top of the neck, below the skull, and then from the base of the throat, the middle of the throat, top of the throat, into your jaw, all softening, releasing your tongue. Understanding this quality of the base, the middle, and the end helps with all of the movements. Rolling up and closing when you're done. Let's do a little shoulder releasing in preparation for softening front and back. One useful thing that we can use this movement to examine is that if I was to try to lead with my elbow around this and my wrist sort of fell behind, then it would actually be difficult to release my shoulder in certain directions. It would be a kind of holding pattern, in part with the direction that I was discussing in the last class. And so instead, if I lead with my hand through the arm, the elbow is disinhibited, lead with my hand, I fall through. Not because I'm trying to push my hand down, but because this movement is allowed to go all the way through and around, both directions, letting go. Without it getting stuck in the elbow or forcing it to change direction, then it actually allows me to release my shoulder more easily. I've seen some wonderful martial artists, amputees, who are missing this part of their arm. But through the movement and the expression of their punches or their throws or their circles, depending on which art they're practicing, you can actually see if they are expressing all the way out as though they had a hand. So if they were missing this part of their arm and circling around, if they were trapped here and not allowing the movement to travel outward as though it was expressing past this point, in whatever context that their body allows, then you would see it contained here. But instead, if they allow that movement to express all the way outward, then it disinhibits the shoulder and the neck. And you can see that quality in their movement. This is true with their legs and other parts of their bodies that may be otherwise not around. And so this capacity to release, both sides, expresses through and past that joint. Even if you are missing your wrist and your hand, allowing this movement to travel through as though it is expressing outward will greatly help release through here. Everyone's body is different, but the need to express is the same. So we adjust and find the way that your body allows itself to release, both directions. For instance, somebody lacking an arm, maybe it's been amputated or never grew from here out, still needs to be able to express this movement through their chest, through their shoulder blade, through their neck. And so if they had gotten used to instead this being constricted and not expressing here because they weren't allowing it to travel out, then that tendency for holding and tension would travel all the way across. But if instead they allowed this to circulate, even without the arm there would still be movement and a healthier expression, and it would benefit their whole body, as Qigong always does. So however your body is, larger, smaller, whatever shape and capacity it has, older, younger, find the way that you can express in a whole body, holistic, healthy way, and Qigong will start to work for you. If you're sitting in a wheelchair, if you're bed bound, there's still possibility to help you heal and circulate in a natural and holistic way. But we have to understand the principles so you can apply it to the way you move and function. Both directions. So in that sense, these hand techniques that I'm describing don't even require a hand. They just require an understanding of how the root expresses through the tip. Both directions. And remember that the root for the mind is this deep stillness. And that impacts the capacity to express through the end, in which case would be reasoning and other aspects of capacity. So taking the time to settle, become still, is part of the same principle. Let's do a little bit of softening forward and back. Freeing up the end. Similarly through the shoulders, expressing through the ends, all the way around. And allow that movement from the root to come through. Smaller and smaller. Remember that whatever you choose to express or release, it has to have a place to go. Otherwise, it runs into something, it becomes a form of stagnation, it becomes an obstruction. So in this case, we're talking about the ends. If something wants to move through, it has to be able to find its way out, otherwise it backs up into your body. If I'm doing some form of body work on somebody, maybe releasing a stuck shoulder where things are obstructed up in here, and I release that obstructed chi, as a way to think about it, chi and blood, it has to have some place to go, or I'm just moving it into another obstruction. And I see this too often in people doing healing work, acupuncture, this kind of thing. One of the reasons it may not work for them is because what we're doing is we're establishing flow. If I'm a plumber and I release one blockage into another blockage, all I've done is increase the pressure on that next blockage. What we have to do is find a way to express something out. It needs to leave. It needs to move through. Through, not to a space. So here are the ends. Here's the end. Find the way through with your movement. Let's do some softening of the neck in preparation for black snake. As your chest and shoulder opens, soften past your elbow through your wrist to your hand. Movement goes through your elbow, through your wrist and hand. Otherwise, it stays trapped up in your neck and shoulders. Also looking down and then up and back. And again, closing. So using this as an opportunity to answer a question that I got recently in the comment section, please do feel free to put your questions down below, and as a community we will share the opportunity to respond. Lengthening your neck, the ends traveling outward. And this had to do with emotional release that can often occur through Qigong practice, or people at least doing concurrent practices trying to express, to dig out their emotions, to uncover their shadow side, as was the question arranged. And first of all, I don't encourage trying to dig and to force up old emotions. That's doing a lot of extra and it can cause a lot of harm. And if you are doing that kind of work, or you are having emotions express themselves, then using and understanding this principle that if you're going to dig something out, remember that it has to have some place to go. So rather than spending time trying to dredge up old feelings and memories and things like that, as often is encouraged in a therapeutic setting these days, please do first become an expert at letting go of those feelings, releasing stuck emotions, letting them express their way out of your body, learning to walk in a calm way, how to unknot tight muscles, how to release them without force. You're just letting go. And if you haven't yet learned how to let go of something, don't spend time dredging it up, or you'll just cause more problems. One more. And please watch my video about free and easy wandering for discussions about practices I recommend to help release strong emotions. Looking down and up. A reminder to be gentle. So even here, as you lengthen around, if you were to sort of get stuck in your elbows, then it would never find its way out. So instead you let it flow outward through the fingertips, travel outward through the fingertips, and it disinhibits the shoulder and neck more easily. Let's do a little pressing down on top of the head. Palms turning down before the level of the heart. Palms turning up, shoulders staying back, lower back staying soft. Hands over the head as comfortably as you can, pressing down. I'm trying not to hit my microphone headphones here. Just do it a few times. And then softening around, lengthening through, softening the wrists, the hands sprout from the wrists, letting go. Little side to side expression as best you can. If you're not sure if you're doing this right, feel free to send me a little video and I'll let you know. And then and by the way, you can send me a video on Instagram or one of those other social media sites. I prefer if you record it, upload it to YouTube and send me that link, because then I can watch it more than once. And you send it by social media very often, very quickly after watching it, sometimes even after the one time watching it, the platform deletes the video. And so if you do choose to send me videos, make sure that I can watch them several times. If you have my mailing address, you can send me a flash drive with you performing your movements, and I will give you feedback very happily. Whole body soft. disinhibiting through the wrist, through the hand. Shoulder softens down, hand as though it comes behind the head, not because you pull your shoulder back or push your head forward. This is the correct direction for the shoulder to release, and naturally the hand falls behind the head, as long as your shoulder doesn't contain too much arthritic pain or something. Don't use force. Just find a way through this direction, and it's okay if it doesn't reach there. That's why we're doing this practice. Eventually it becomes effortless and natural. And then shoulder blade sinks. Don't pull your hand down. Palms facing up, facing down, but don't crimp your wrists. Just a natural expression through the hand. Pay attention so that you're not breaking the line of the wrist, breaking your wrist, as we might say. Hand sprouts from the wrist. Very comfortable angle. Easy circulation reaching the fingertips. Letting go of your hands. All the way down, you melt before starting the next one. Shoulder sinks down the back. Full rotation, releasing the shoulder blade. Spine lengthens. Top of the head follows the top hand. Tailbone sinks with the lower hand. And then we let go. Disinhibiting everything in the middle. The two ends move away so the middle can release. The same principle over and over again. Letting go, melting your hands, and then closing. Let's do a little bit of black snake, twisting around the tree, lengthening through. Here, don't lift your shoulder, lift your elbow. It lengthens around to the hand. Just letting go. Turn your waist, opening the front of the body, opening the back of the body. Don't kink your neck or any other place. Whole spine twisting evenly. Keep your neck safe. Don't twist your knees. Releasing the wrist, the hand just softens around. One more time on the other side. Opening gently outward, releasing. I have a lot to say about the elbows for this one, but I'll save it for the next lesson. First, we disinhibit the ends a little bit more. And remember that if this series is going too quickly for you, you're still stuck on one piece that's not releasing for you, then it's perfectly okay to rewatch it as many times as you want, or to watch any of the other videos or the silent version of this until that particular line starts to let go, so that you can just continue on with the exploration. You don't have to follow with this breakneck speed, no pun intended. Just letting go at the speed that your body wants to release. So here, if I was to lead with my elbows, I couldn't really let go of my shoulders or my neck. It would creep up instead. But if instead I let it go out all the way around, then all of this has the capacity to let go. Letting go of your hands, your wrists, your forearms sink, wrists cross. Both sides. And just letting things fall through. Shoulder softens, release. Hand, the wrist. If I tried to let my elbow lead, you can see easily that this one, how it would make it impossible for this to release through. But instead, if I let this go and my elbow is quiet, this has the chance to express itself. All the way through, all the way up. Releasing the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder. Leading with the hand, disinhibiting fingers, the palm, the wrist, the forearm, allowing that to set the elbow and then the shoulder free. The tip leading the root. Slightly wider stance, expanding outward through the fingertips, around the circle. Palms turn out. Again, don't lead with the elbows. The hands push forward and out. They lead the arms outward, the hands moving away from each other gently. Around the corner, shoulder blades sink down the back, lower back opens. Make sure that you don't collapse forward. This goes back and opens as your shoulder blades sink. Don't force your breath to move. In this case, the shape of the body, the shape of the movement itself, the expression, the intent, is the tip, leading the body and the breath. The breath follows that movement. The breath happens on its own. Such a nice practice. Let's do a little bit of white snake. Lead with the wrist. The hand softens through. The hand sprouts like I was showing you from the wrist, lengthening outward. And then against the body here, make certain that you're not breaking the wrist, pulling it up. Let it soften as it expresses itself against your chest. Softening. Your wrists release. Hands soft. Both sides. Just along the midline. Now these next few are especially important for understanding this movement. So even here, it feels as though the wrists are taken out of it, or we're compressing the wrists or something. But really, the wrists are moving away from the elbows are moving away from the shoulders, and we soften around. That's why we're not pulling back, but expanding out. If you made a fist here and tightened your forearms, which I don't recommend you do, very long at least, it would actually inhibit the movement of your shoulders and the expression. So release your hands. And even better, this one. Lead with the fingertips. Lead with the hand. The elbow is just quiet. It just follows along. Again, if I was to start pushing with the elbow, you can see how it wouldn't allow any of this to happen. This is here, the elbow is simply quiet. It's following the hand, expressing from the root through to the tip. Letting go. Don't pull your wrist in. Just let it fall around leading with the fingertips. Lead with the soft hand, wrists sprouting through to the hands and fingers. The elbows quiet in the middle, which we'll talk more about in the next lesson. So let's do a variation of the golden snake, this more simple version here, starting with my left palm up, fingertips in, back, out to the side, all the way around. Wonderful practice by itself. And I actually like this one more for talking about this shape of the wrist and the hand than the normal golden snake. Because it's so easy to start pushing and pulling on the hand as you go around, instead of letting this express itself freely. Both directions. I know that you know all of these by now. We're so far into this set. I just want people to recognize that we're just letting go, following through. It's so easy to develop bad habits of tension, pushing and pulling on the hand. And so this follows through, the elbows quiet, shoulders quiet. Closing, left side closes to the right, left side opens away from the right, closes to the right, changing direction. Doesn't matter which direction you start with. Keep all of this released. Opening, closing, this side stays stable. All of this releases. Allowing one side to be stable actually allows for more expression from the moving side. The yin always supports the yang. The yang allows the yin to express itself. So if the tip, the yang, is obstructed, the yin, the root, can't express. Everything hampers everything else. So now let's try regular golden snake with this comfortable openness. Same kind of expansion, lengthening across. Easy. Soft. It's too easy to turn it into tight expression. All the way over. Falling down alongside the inside of the knee here. Out. Closing toward the stable side, opening away from it. This helps the open side express itself. Using the inside of the knee space, don't go over here. Across and around, closing toward that side, opening away from it. So I'm using this study of the wrist and the hand as a way to talk about understanding root, middle, and tip. Stability and expression. Otherwise, it's too abstract. Turn your waist, don't twist your knees. That makes us unstable, makes all of this tighten up. It's important to me that we raise everyone's understanding and capacity with Qigong to move it past just the simple movement, but rather how we are in that movement. Something profound and transformative. Lengthen through, all the way through, continuing to lengthen through the wrist, through the hand. And even here, don't fold your wrist, right? We soften around the corner, leading with the hand, through the middle. Soften around. Here, don't twist your hand. Just lead with the fingertips. Turn your waist, then naturally express outward. This stays soft, naturally expressing around. One more. Easy, comfortable. Let's do just a little bit of welcoming wind shakes the willow. Comfortable, easy releasing. Emphasize this softening through, of course. Notice if at this point in your practice you're more open or more compressed. Remember in the beginning how I was talking about how we expand, open, and make space for that expression? Yeah, I was planting the seeds, as it were. That is one of the foundations for all of our expressive practice. We have correct movement habits. We're free and easy. And we allow that expansive, open space to result from this soft, gentle expression. This style of movement helps to unbind us, to make room. Eventually, all of your practice will be this soft, expansive, spherical experience. Quiet, gentle, becomes a very different practice. Letting go. Letting go. The middle expresses itself out to the ends. Your awareness, quiet, expansive, settled. Both directions. Lengthening out, releasing. Notice again if I was to try to lead this with my elbows in some way, it would break. But if it falls through the ends, even here, don't lead with your elbows. Fall through the ends. This expresses itself out. Disinhibited and free. Your mind quiet, vast and expansive, like an open blue sky. Your body like the earth, soft and mirroring, following that example, this open, expressive quality. And the chi flow, the movement through your body, through those two poles of yin and yang, is being expressed through, from the root to the tip, from the earth to the heavens of your body, mind, freely. Remember to take your time through these movements, recovering when necessary. By now, I expect you to know your own capacities, take care of yourself appropriately, to not push yourself. Otherwise, your system will just rebel and push back. Please be gentle. Practice feels so nice, I can't help but sigh in appreciation. So here, don't lift with your chest, don't lead with your elbows. Your hands soften. Let's go this direction. Lead without breaking your wrists. Lead with the fingertips. So everything's a comfortable, curving expression from the center out. Release. Don't tighten your wrists. Especially today, we can do extra of these. And then sinking through. Whole body, let's go. Anything obstructing this free flow down into the earth. Again, just a few extra of these comfortable elbow, wrist releases, and then lifting up. Warmth, nourishment into your lower back and center. Whole body lengthening and free. Take your time. And again here, useful instruction. One thing that I see very commonly people mistaking is that as they sink down, what we're doing is we're letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, just like with standing posture. But if I am still holding on here and then I start to bend my knees, now I have no way to let go of what's above it. What we want to do is release, release, release. So by the time I start to flex my hips and bend my knees a little bit, however far we decide to go, I've already let go of my whole upper body. This is all released. And now I soften through here and then to the ground. And so don't start bending over. Don't start sinking too early or everything backs up and you're not able to let it go through to the ground. Let's do one more. Letting go of your wrists extra today. And then we wash through and you let go of your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders, your neck, your upper body, your waist, softening your belly, softening your hips and glutes. So by the time you're here, all of this is released. Now, as we sink down, now you can begin to settle through the hips. It washes through your knees. You're not leaning. You're just sinking down comfortably. This would be far enough if you like. However far you go, again, take your time to release your wrists. And then gently softening your legs as you stand up, warming your back, settling into the middle. In the next 100-day series where I talk about the hips and the legs more, we'll spend a lot more time with that one. But for now, just letting go of your upper body is enough. These practices are so rich, it's amazing how deep we can go with them. So many possibilities for transformation. Let's do a little bit of swinging. Here, the movement is coming from the center. Make sure you don't twist your hips into your knees. And it's allowed to express itself outward through the hands. If it's comfortable for you, you can bounce against your body. But if you were to do this while holding your fists and your wrists, everything would get stuck. There's no way to let it go. It has to go out, through. Hands are soft, fingers, wrists, all around the base of your elbow, for your forearm. If this is an area of great difficulty for you, I highly encourage you to spend extra time with this giant snake swings its tail. These shuaisho, these swinging hand practices, can be wonderful for helping encourage circulation and release outward, as long as we're not hanging on while we're doing it. Remember that this series is designed around teaching as it is as much around practice. And so do take your own separate time to practice. Occasionally watch those quiet practice videos, or just head outside and do this on your own. That way you're not always listening to me chatter during class. Noticing this change in your body, this shift. Your awareness sinking deeply, but especially paying attention, of course, to your lower arms. Noticing your neck and your shoulders, how easy and warm they've become. Your whole body soft. Even here, hands stay soft. Encouraging circulation out to the fingertips. They grew warm through circulation, not because you're just pushing your hands together. Thank you very much, my friends. Appreciate you joining me. Remember to consistently throughout the day, this is your homework, pay attention, you're going to stop gripping inward the way I was talking about. Instead, begin to reach for a glass of water, for instance, by lengthening around the glass, rather than grasping at this object. Lengthen. If you reach for a pencil, if you decide to type, not this way, but this way, lengthen your fingertips. Release your wrists. Don't do this, the T-Rex style of existence, but rather we soften through outward. We need to reinvigorate this ability to lengthen through the ends, rather than to constrict and try to control everything. We soften through. See if you can find ways to do that. And the more of these that you can unlock and release, the easier this will get. Pain patterns will start to abate and healing will occur because we are letting go. Thank you very much for joining me. So nice to have you. I hope that you're enjoying the practice as much as I am, and I will see you tomorrow. Stage left.